I thought you were going to go first. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Vic Akers Wonderland. Another week means another set of games. Arsenal back in WSL action as the Gunners took on Aston Villa at Villa Park. As always, joined by Adam. How are you?
I think that's the only way I can describe it. Just the highs of Leon, and I'm still riding those highs. But what sort of followed, as we'll dig into, and this comes from somebody who doesn't drink, so I can only assume. But this kind of felt like a massive Euro hangover. This was sort of the real bump, skidding, crash, head first, face plant into reality. I'm not surprised. Well, as we get to, I am both surprised and not surprised. I'm annoyed and angered, but also intrigued. And I think this is both terrible but not bad at the same time. There's a lot of conflict going around this one game, which I'm hoping we can get into.
Well, we'll just quickly start with the starting 11 then. So the team that started this game, Manu Zinsberger in goal, Katie McCabe as the left back, Steph Catley and Lotta Wibben-Moy as the centre back pairing, Katie Reid as the right back, Mariona Caldente and Cara Cooney-Cross as the defensive pivot, Beth Mead, Victoria Palova and Chloe Kelly as the attacking midfielders, Beth Mead and Chloe Kelly as the wingers, and Stina Blackstenius as the striker. Just your thoughts going into that, because it's a heavily rotated squad.
Right.
I think that is only Katie, Mariona, and Steph that are all, apart from Chloe as well, who all started the game in Leon.
Okay. So we'll just go through that. So yeah, the starters from Leon: Chloe Kelly, Mariona Caldente, Steph Catley, and Katie McCabe. Everything else has been rotated. So that's for maths is not what it used to be. That's 7. Is that 7 out of the big hitters have been taken out and then swapped out. And rotation is needed. Let's be honest. This is why we have a team. This is why we've got quite a squad, rather say. This is why we've got a big squad, so that we can rotate. We can take players out, can bring players in. Now, this is the game of, this is the juggling that Rennie has to do, is that you're not going to be playing Sunday afternoon every single weekend. You have to do this midweek juggling, and previously the caliber of opposition means you could maybe get away with playing your big hitters on a Monday and a Wednesday, but given the exertions in Leon, and given the fact that I don't think that of Domsalar was 100% fit in that game, which says a lot that we wanted to throw her at it rather than Manuela Zinsberger, and also maybe considering how this game played out. Some would argue, I would argue against, but some would argue justifies the reason why Manu wasn't in the Leon game. I wasn't surprised to see rotation. I was quite glad to see some of the players like Palova making her first start since her ACL injury, Katie Reid making her first start at right back. Also making a first start, which is not right back, but it's the first Arsenal start in the WSL. Obviously, she started in the Champions League. Away in Valerenga. I mean, and also she started in the FA Cup. It was good to see Wibben-Moy back. And so my eyes were sort of on the players kept in. So on the bench, there's no Jenna Niswanger starting Katie McCabe. I would have maybe picked Jenna Niswanger. I thought she was pretty decent when we played Palace, and I thought she would have been of the caliber needed. I mean, a lot of this, I should also say, is tinged with a massive dose of hindsight, which we'll get into. Let's be fair. There was a lot of changes made, and that is always a huge gamble. And I know Villa have been in a relegation battle for most of the season. At one point, they were just 1 point off Crystal Palace. They have picked up a bit of form since then. And there is a lot of quality, as much as I've been critical of them and the fact that they've got a lot of quality and have not been fulfilling that. It looks like they are now. And I suppose when you make these rotations, either you get away with it, go away with Villa, you just get the points, and then you can say, bravo, we've rested half our team. Our team's now refreshed for Brighton away, Man United at home, and Barcelona in 2 weeks' time. And after that, and they're all on the weekend, so we get the full 7 days. Just the means of this game is get the big hitters out of the firing line, get them rested, and use the squad, because the squad should be talented enough to beat Aston Villa. I know you've taken Russo out, I know you've taken this out, you've taken Williamson out, but the players, and this gets away with what happened, but the individual quality on the pitch, and there was a lot of individual quality, should be enough, or should have been enough, to win that kind of football match. That's my sort of take on the 11, but there were nuances at play, and that's why. And again, I'm jumping ahead. What happened?
I think this is one of the problems when you heavily rotate. It wasn't a case of players definitely needed that. It was a case of that for just fresh legs and just let's try and get a try. Yes, yeah. That was the thing. And ultimately, we both weren't there at Villa Park. No. But last season, similar thing happened though. Villa went in front very early on, and you kind of felt, okay, it is turnaroundable, but you thought that sooner or later with Villa were going to get that win at Villa Park against Arsenal, because it's been a bit of a hunting ground for Arsenal in the past couple of seasons.
The last 2 seasons we've gone there, and it's been a pretty comfortable win in the end. I should say last season it was a bit ropey until the last 10 minutes, and then obviously Lottie got a header and Stina had another comedy goal to add to a collection. But 20 minutes into this game, and we should have the opening goal was on 30 minutes. We'll get to that goal. I'm in quite a few group chats on WhatsApp, and one of the group chats was watching this game. 20 minutes in, I was watching the game, and I said, banana skin. You could just tell that this was not a team. There was quality players on the pitch, but they were, and it was especially obvious in the defence. There was no synergy, there was no connection, there was no cohesion, there was no knowledge. It was like watching, and I'm including the goalkeeper on this, it was like watching 5 strangers, 5 individuals who'd never played before, never met each other. It was like Renier just plucked 5 random people out on the street, out in Birmingham, and said, you're going to be my defence, you're going to be my goalkeeper, best of luck. Because the passes were misplaced, the clearances were frantic. Villa were turning Arsenal over. Lotte Wubben is a brilliant defender, okay? She was supported the club player of the season last season, okay? She's a quality, competent defender, and she was making mistakes. She was getting the ball turned over on her feet, on the edge of her own penalty area. And, we'll get to the goal in 30 minutes, but Villa should have been ahead well before that. They were. I was thinking, we're getting lucky here. We are getting very, very lucky. This team needs to wake up. Your Villa are all over us. The likes of Hansen, the likes of Sam, like Daly, their high press is squeezing the life out of that back line. Katie Reid, I felt so sorry for, because it was like rabbit in the headlight stuff. She's a young player. She's a brilliant player. I think she's going to be a top quality defender. She's a centre back. She's being repurposed slightly as a right back to get her in the team, and it's important to get those match minutes. And this is almost the perfect time to use her. But the problem is they've come at a Villa team who are no longer, licking their wounds and feeling sorry for themselves. This is a Villa team in confidence mode, and their attack. I know there was question marks over defence and some of the injuries and so forth in the patronage of defence, but the attack is strong. Hansen, Sam, and Daly are good players and experienced players and pacey players. McCabe looked like she played well. We're going to get to McCabe in the second half, because obviously what happens there. But the defence in McCabe looked knackered, and I don't blame her, because she's played her heart out in Lyon. Steph Catley, I know Rene wants left-footed centre back, and really just help having Catley the left-footed centre back because of the distribution, and it makes logical sense. But again, just look very, very exposed, especially with transitions, and Villa are transitional, with Moyes have said. And, Manuel Zinsberger in goal, we love Daphne. I love Manu. I love Daphne. Manu's been a great servant for us. Daphne is an upgrade, and I think we saw that when we're so accustomed to the level that Daphne's playing at, even if she's playing on one leg. Manu is a great goalkeeper, has been a great goalkeeper for us, but you do see the drop in quality. You do see the ball distribution. Just Manu just taking that extra touch. Villa are getting very close to closing her down, and it just leads to a bit of discomfort and a bit of panic. The ball isn't going where it should. There were one or two moments. I think Palova had a chance. I think that Sabrina D'Angelo managed to close down a 1v1. Kelly danced in the box, but just felt this is a team that is off. And it's strange because, as I said before, 8 players came into that team. 8 of those players did not play the 90 minutes away in Lyon, and yet it looked like that all 11 players had played 90 minutes plus extra time in Lyon, because they just did not look, they didn't look sharp, they didn't look at it. And I do wonder if some of that is actually the fact that they haven't played enough minutes, and because Renee has kept the main team going, the likes of Caldente and Kimberley in the pivot, the likes of Russo up top, the likes of maybe Freedom at 10, and Kelly and Ford on the wings, keeping a lot of the main team the same. The players that are coming off the bench, the likes of Palova and Cooney Cross and Wibbemoy, some have been unavailable for injury, and some obviously just haven't been used. An element of rust, perhaps. The goal, Jordan Nobbs' goal, I actually joked to somebody who said, Jordan Nobbs has been picked. And I said, I bet she's going to have an amazing game against us. And lo and behold, she did, as did a lot of the Villa players. The goal comes on the counter, and we get a corner. We get a good, I think Sabs, they didn't reshow it on the replay, but we have on goal. Sabs makes a good save. But the speed at which Villa counter on us is electric, and the rest of our team are just stuck at the other end of the pitch. It's like they're stuck in quicksand. And Cooney crosses on the halfway line, and I'm watching her, and I'm thinking, don't dive in, don't dive in, don't dive in, don't dive in, and she dives in. And it's the same thing that Niamh Charles did in the Chelsea game at home to Barcelona, when Chelsea were just starting to get into the game, did a few chances, and then Bonmati has a break down the wing, and Niamh Charles dives in, and Bonmati hurdles a tackle, and boom, the back door's open. And the moment Kyra who at that point was the last player on the halfway line, she dives in, doesn't wipe out the defender, doesn't get the ball. I think it was Ebony Salmon in this instance, just bursts clear, and then it's a 2v1. I think Lotta's trying to get back to maybe block off the pass. Threads it to cross
trying to
to
give
Jordan
it as
Nobbs.
offside as well.
Yeah, but it's just never going to happen. It's a 2v1, and they play it perfectly. Taps across to Nobbs, centre of the goal. Manu comes out. Nobbs, all the experience in the world, knows how to finish from there. Boom, 1-0. It's a brilliant counter-attack, and Villa play it perfectly, but Arsenal don't help themselves because the team doesn't retreat enough. There's too much of a committal up front. They are not quick enough and alert enough to do the counter. And Kyra has to take the booking. I know it's 30 minutes into the game, but look, take the booking, and then if need be, we can sub you off. If there's a danger that you might get the second yellow, she has to wipe the player out. It's cynical, but that's what you've got to do. If you're on the halfway line and you've got to pace your player out, you wipe it out. The challenge is, I'm sorry to say it, the challenge is pathetic. It's a weak dangling leg that Salmon just brushes past. It's no. And it Villa deserved it. Villa deserved the lead. 30 minutes in, I thought it should have been ahead much earlier than that. I know I've rambled on for a bit here, and I will pause the breath at some point. But
just for perspective, Adam, you went and watched this game. I was at training, so I hadn't seen much of the game. I was seeing it was 2-0 at half time, and at the end, and the game how it finished 5-2. I was let's talk about that second goal as well, because
yes, absolutely,
it's a fantastic goal. I've only just seen the highlights itself. Kirsty Hansen with a terrific goal from outside the box. It just rifles it in. It's just one of those where some of these goals seem comically error prone. I think if this is going to be the issue going through the entire game, is that a lot of it is Arsenal hitting the self-destruct button.
It's self-inflicted, and the thing is, and I mentioned this in the previous pod, but it's so obvious in the next two goals, because basically this was an Uno reverse of the Lyon game, except we were the Lyons. We were Lyon and Villa were us, if that makes it. It is literally, you can line up, if you check, or you can line up literally and go, right, that goal is that goal, that goal is that goal. Because this goal is the Mariona goal. This goal, it's top bin, edge of the box, just goes through, it's right on the cusp, should I say, same timing, 45 plus 1 minute, it's right on the cusp of half time. It's 1-0 down. We've been pants. I mean, we were 1-0 down last season at Villa Park, and that was really because Villa had one shot on target, and we were having all the possession, and it was sort of like a bit of against the run of play.
But we weren't doing anything with the possession. We weren't having that shot.
The Knobs goal was not against the run of play because Villa were the better side, and this goal, Villa deserved this again. And I've been hesitant to look back at the highlights because I'll just be angry again. I think, you can correct me, I think actually this is a cough-up possession on the edge of the box. In fact, I say most of them are defensive errors, but Hansen, it's ruthless, like as we were with Marion on the edge of the box, getting that second goal and just before half time. And at that point, I'm like, yeah, it's done. I don't, based on that first half, unless there are seismic changes, because ideally in this situation, you don't want to go to your bench because you want that team to get you over the line and get those. It's a break glass, deploy an emergency. You don't deploy those players. You get that team to get you over the line. Clearly, that team hasn't. It isn't in this instance. It's a brilliant goal from Hansen and fully deserved. Villa fully deserved to be 2-0 up. It was 2, should have been 3, could have been 4. Just so poor. I mean, the change at halftime, I think, it shows the scale of it. Rene goes, right, I'm going to make a triple change. Takes off Cooney Cross, takes off Lottie, and takes off Palova. I felt so sorry for Palova because I actually think Palova was doing okay. I really did. And then maybe that's one of those classic ones that it was a sub they were going to make anyway because obviously she's come back from her ACL, so it's just getting more minutes in the tank. But taking Cooney Cross off and taking off Wubben-Moy was probably right. I don't think Wubben-Moy probably had one of our worst games of the season. Again, she only just come back from injury. But the centre-back part, again, start the cohesions. The last time I remember Wubben-Moy and Catley playing together would have probably been when we had that injury crisis way back in 2022-23. This is a partnership that's just been thrown in on the cold. So obviously, Blair coming off the bench makes sense. You're restoring that centre-back partnership that got us over the line in Lyon. So you think, good, there'll be cohesion there. You got McCabe, Catley, Lear. K2 is at right back, but okay. The rest of the team can sort of help coach you through it, and that'll be fine. Kim Little comes off a Cooney Cross. I was surprised by this because I would have deployed Leah Velti. Leah Velti was on the bench, I believe.
Yes, she was.
She was. I'm just trying to look at the subs now, and I can't find it. But
so I've got them here.
Yes,
I've got Leah Williamson, Kim Little, Frida Marnin, Caitlin Ford, Alessia Russo, Emily Fox, Leah Velti, Amanda Illister, and that is a good question as well.
I've scrolled that. Yes, yeah. I was screaming that midfield needed control. It needed somebody to, and I know Kim Little can do control, but I just felt this was a game for Velti. This was Kyra Cooney Cross, and people know Kyra Cooney Cross better than me will tell me she's not a defensive midfielder. She is not a Leah Velti Mark II. She's a great midfielder who can give us great options in that midfield area. When the team sheet came out and they were saying Mariana Caldente and Kyra Cooney Cross is double pivot, we've seen that pivot before, and for me that is chaos pivot. That gives you good attacking options, but it gives you no defensive protection whatsoever because Mariana is going to bomb forward. Kim Little just Kyra Cooney Cross is going to spray passes. Kyra's going to spray passes everywhere, but she is not a defensive midfielder. It's just not going to happen. She has a role in the team, and that is not it. And I would have brought on Leah Velti because I thought this team just needs something to plug the gaps because Villa are just steaming through us. Went for Kim Little. Now, Kim Little, we said in the previous pod, had a great game against Lyon, and she's a great midfielder. And maybe she's thinking, right, captain, come on here, steady the ship. I would have gone, as I said, with Velti, and I think it's maybe a mistake to have played after. I think she played close to 90 minutes in that game in Lyon, or certainly the vast majority of it, to then throw her into this game, I thought was a mistake. So we make the substitutions, and I thought, right, Rene's going to have a shout out this team. For me, I think the game is gone. It's going to take a mammoth comeback, because it's like when we had the West Ham home game. We went 2-0 down really early on, but throughout the whole game, I was confident there was stuff happening on the pitch. I was confident that we were going to turn the game around. I thought, that's fine. We're playing well here. We've been sucker punched by 2 set pieces, but we're actually playing rather well, and we just take our chances. And of course, Kelly gets the goal before half time, and you think, okay, we'll be fine. But there was nothing in that first half from that performance that made me think, yeah, we can come back to this. There was just nothing, just defensive shambles and just no attack. So I thought subs come on, and I think Renee thought she could chase the game. I think she really thought we can still win this, and I appreciate that, because the bigger picture was Arsenal needed to win this game to keep what was, in inverted commas, a title race alive. There was no title race. Chelsea were, and as it turns out, have won the league, and it's just a matter of when, not if. But you have to keep them honest. You have to force them to keep going. You don't chuck the towel in. And so I commend that. I commend that she thought she could turn the game around. But I just felt that I think the substitutions were far too attacking. It was far too, we're going to chase that lead down and we're going to go for them. Like I said, the likes of Ford, Russo, new striker coming on, so Russo to 10 and Stina 9, so bringing that back in, bringing Kim Little on.
Is that a worry yourself, the fact that Russo is again the Stina Russo attacking midfield striker?
I mean, I don't know if it was a 10-9, Russo in a 10 and Stina 9, or whether it was like a double, like a 4-4-2. It was, again, the game became extremely chaotic, because Arsenal just went, right, we're just going to chase goals here and we're just going to go for it, and just left themselves hopelessly exposed at the back. And that's why it wasn't a 2-0. That's why, spoiler alert, in case you missed it or been under a rock, it finished 5-2, because Arsenal just basically went, well, we're just going to throw everyone forward, and they were like, great, well, we're just going to bomb balls over the top and throw our fast forwards at your back line. And it just got worse and worse. I mean, I'll go into the goal if you don't mind.
Yeah, go on. Let's talk about Chastity Grant.
Yeah, Chastity Grant. I mean, again, I talk about the Lyon parallels. This was the Russo goal 1 minute after half time. Just as Lyon had the half-time sandwich from us, we got the half-time sandwich from Villa. It's a ball down in the channel. Kelly McCabe's got this. It's Kelly McCabe's ball. Kelly McCabe has got this. Marlo's offering herself. It's Kelly McCabe's ball. She gets her pocket picked by Chastity Grant, and suddenly it's boom, past the goalkeeper, 3-0. And you're just like, well, I said in the previous pod, when Russo got that goal against Lyon, I was like, this is impossible. This doesn't happen. I give up. This is impossible. For different reasons, I'm saying the same thing at this goal, because I'm like, right, clearly we are in circumstance exceptional. This is wrong. This doesn't happen. This is Arsenal, like Lyon. This is Arsenal making basic defensive mistakes. A fully fit, fully switched on Katie McCabe does not get her pocket picked.
She hits that into Rosette's.
She passes it back to the keeper. She hits into Rosette. She has an awful touch, and as you say, Chastity Grant, and this is why, as a good striker, you press your defenders, because if you keep buying lottery tickets, eventually one of them pays off. Rightly puts the pressure on McCabe, and McCabe fumbles it. Chastity Grant snips in, sticks it past the keeper, makes it 3-0. And at this point, I'm thinking, the game's a write-off, which is a frustration, because Renee has made the changes to chase the game that has, within less than a minute, has gone. So Villa have won the game. It's done. It's over. And I'm just thinking, right, now I'm intrigued, because this is an impossible situation. Arsenal don't get themselves in this level of jeopardy, and certainly not against an opposition of Aston Villa. No offense to Aston Villa. They are not Chelsea and they're not Manchester City. They're Aston Villa.
But they still have high-quality players. This is a team that...
Villa they have quality. I've said before, they have quality players. They have all massively underperformed this season. It's why they are where they are on the table, and they have fair play to them. They have saved themselves this season. They got up to 9th, actually leapfrogging Spurs, which I think probably says more about Spurs this season than about Villa. But you've now committed to going all-out attack in a game that you're 3-0 down. So I'm intrigued, thinking, right, what do Arsenal do in this situation? Because now we're in the unknown. The game's gone. title's gone. We already knew it was gone. It was gone in October. This is just, we just managed to drag it out until, well, in fairness, not even May, right at the end of April. So we know that's a write-off. But I'm thinking, right, I'm looking at what are we going to do? What is this team going to do? What's the mentality of this team? Is it going to think, right, we're 3-0 down, guys, it's embarrassing. Let's just take 5. Let's get the structure right, get ourselves right, maybe get one goal back, manage the game. Let's not make this humiliation. You've got fans in the crowd who are making plenty of noise and trying to cheer the team on. What is the mentality? How they're going to manage it? Because we don't see Arsenal in these situations often. And I think, and this is when I go back to positives, it's a good experience looking ahead to next season. And I think of the bigger picture stuff, because how do Arsenal navigate games like this? Because the crazy thing is, you've gone 3-0 down, you don't go 6-0 down, because goal difference is everything. It's how do you manage these games out and make sure it stays reasonably respectable. And yeah, that was my feeling for the second half. It's like, right, we're in exceptional circumstance. We're not gonna get a result here that's going to keep tight race going. So what have Arsenal got? What can they show me to, in terms of individual performances, looking ahead to next season? It's like a free hit 45 minutes. Show me what you got. Show me what we can do.
And with that, after Justy Grant does score, Rachel Daly goes and makes it worse 13 minutes later on 59 minutes. And by this time, you're just thinking, what's going on? Because if we're sitting in the crowd, I think a lot of people would have probably walked out by then. But not into, if this was just like say a men's game, a lot of, if you're 4-0 down after nearly 60 minutes, a lot of people are walking out because they've had enough, they've seen enough, and that's that.
It's so ridiculously simple. It's just a ball through the defence. Rachel Daly outpaces the defence. I didn't quite catch it if it was I might be the right back or it might be the centre back, so it's the right side. So it's either Williamson or Katie Reid. Just simply Stitch on the outside, outpaces, runs through, tucks it past the keeper. 4-0. At this point, my friend of mine, Chris Garrett, messages me, and we're thinking, right, because now it's at the moment it's a comedy, because it's now right. It's just ridiculous. So it's just like, right, what's the record scoreline? How can we dig this hole? Dig this hole. So the scorelines we're running for ahead is there was a 4-0 we had at home to Liverpool. We lost 4-0 at the Emirates Stadium to Liverpool. So there's that. There was a 4-1 we had at home to Chelsea not too long ago at Meadow Park. The 5-2 away at Manchester City, and just obviously away at Bayern Munich this season. As I said, we are nosediving in this game so spectacularly, and I think we had maybe one really good chance. I think Williams had the volley that Sabs had done really well to save. We're not offering anything of any real sort of substance in attack, despite the fact that a lot of the team were the team that scored 4 goals. Now, with all the subs that come on, this is now only a team that has scored 4 goals at Lyon, struggling to get a goal away at Aston Villa. My mind's not even thinking of comebacks. It's just like, right, okay, let's just go for it. Let's just see what happens, just as a curiosity. Is it going to go 4? It was gone 4. Is it going to go 5? Is it going to go 6, 7? I mean, the defense is just shot to pieces. There is just no management of the game. And considering we've got Barcelona on the horizon, you could imagine if we get Barcelona, they battered Chelsea 4-0 when they had their Champions League final a few seasons ago. They beat us 4-1 and 4-0 when we played them in the Champions League a few seasons ago. Come Lisbon, we go full strength, but this is Barcelona. Could easily be in the situation. It could be 4-0 down after, was it 59 minutes? Again, drawing an analogy to Lyon. Against Lyon, we were 4-0 up at Lyon after 60 minutes. And in this instance, it's Aston Villa, another parallel. So I'm thinking, right, what are we going to do? What is this team going to do? How are they going to manage this next 30 minutes? And I think it's not positive. There is one positive which I'll get to, but we did finally score a goal, which I was kind of relieved by, because I think if this had gone in another game, I'm thinking it was a 4-0 away at Doncaster Rovers. There's another one, but I think if you finish this 4-0, it's up there with the worst results we've had in WSL history in terms of a score line. 4-0 is the biggest loss we've suffered. So I was thinking, please give something to the away fans at least. They've travelled to this one, after Lyon. Give them something to celebrate when they go down the M1.
Or maybe some of them weren't going down the M1. Some of them were going up
Or
because
going
Arsenal fans are
up the M6
everywhere. Stina Blackstenius did give their fans something, and this was a bit confusing because on the highlights it doesn't really show it that well. But you just get this little WSL badge wipe, and then all of a sudden you see Stina Blackstenius is through on goal, and she has scored. Now, it's very well known for being 1-on-1, but if you back her, you're 50% times right, 50% of the times you're wrong.
It's a coin toss.
Yes, it really is. But I think just getting that goal, I think that's a bit of a relief. And there are times this season where she's gone in that situation and she's hit it wide, or even in the past, I keep on bringing up the time where she hit the corner and all she has to do is flick it over the goalkeeper. She hits it the goalkeeper's face against Zurich.
I'm glad that Stina did score in this one, in fairness. She hasn't played as much this season because Rene's put her chips on Russo. And it has been a struggle for her at times. But, she scored in the home game against Leicester City, and she did score in this one as well. And it just gives you something to enjoy. That okay, we got one back, and the issue, as you mentioned, because it was shown on Sky Sports, the problem was they were showing a replay of an event that happened, and then the directors got caught out because Leah Williamson pings a brilliant ball over the top of the fence, and Stina gets clear of the defender this time around, and fair enough, scores the goal, and you go, okay, fine, it's one goal back. You salvage a bit of pride, and I think pride is the key word here. It's it's been an embarrassing 60 minutes from Arsenal. They're nowhere near it for the entire contest so far. You need to save a bit of face, and they get one goal back, and you go, okay, good. It's something to cling to at least. Yeah.
Alessia Russo does get the next goal as well, so bringing another one back to make it 4-2.
I shamelessly was at that point. I actually celebrated this goal. I actually celebrated this goal because of the speed. It was 4 minutes. It was the quick nature. It was a double punch. It was a quick goal. It was a cross by Katie Reid, and fair play to Russo. She reads it. She crouches. She nods. This was actually, to wind back, the Lyon home game. Beth Mead had a sim opportunity in which she goes to head, and then it goes straight over the bar. This was the finish that Mead needed in that situation, and really Russo executes it perfectly, stabs it near post. At that point, whilst I cannot raise my one eyebrow, it would have, if I could, it would have been a full-blown Ancelotti. It'd be like okay, you've halved the deficit in 4 minutes. There's just under 20 minutes on the clock. You've built up a bit of momentum. It's not unthinkable. Yeah. And I was saying to friends, right, this is about Aston Villa mentality, because West Ham United, when we played them at home, and they went 3-1 up, and then the moment Katie McCabe scored that brilliant goal from the tight angle, they crumbled. They crumbled completely, and Arsenal piled on, and obviously we know that Leah Williamson got the header from the corner, and then Mariona scored the penalty. And I'm just thinking, right, Villa have been coasting on 4-0. And, in fairness, at one point, I think there was a penalty shot. It could have even been 5-0 if it'd been given. It's suddenly gone from 4-0 to 4-2. Are Villa going to lose their marbles? They've been they're lower down on the table. Do they have the mentality to see this out? Or are Arsenal going to be able to suddenly twist the knife, and suddenly it becomes a real, it's on, guys. It's like St James's Park 2011 sort of levels of comeback, but in reverse for the men's team. And unfortunately, that gave me hope. And that's the worst thing. It did give me hope. And then obviously,
Chastity Grant pulls the no reverse card and goes, haha, let's make it.
Pulls the rug out, and we're just so open again. Just as we were at the beginning, full committal up front. Counter brilliantly. Chastity Grant bursts through, clean through, 1v1, smash it past Manu, 5-2. And at that point, I think it was 73 minutes. He had just over 15 minutes to go. But no, that is it. That is it. There is nothing, nothing for Arsenal. I mean, I think they had maybe a few one moments from this. No, I think Villa had one more shot, and it was the only save Manu made on the day, and it was a pretty routine save straight at her. So yeah, it's a 5-2 defeat. And my fear is the nature of that defeat is how it would affect, because title had gone, but we are in second place, and I think it'd be really good if we could cling on to second place. And of course, with Manchester United playing Chelsea straight after us, at the time we're 2 points ahead, opens the door for them. And so I'm watching that, and I'm in this awful situation where I want neither side to get points because you can't support Chelsea, but a Man United win means we go into third place, and I'd really like to be ahead of Man United ahead of the last game of the season. For our European hopes, for our second place European hopes, because I want to get second, because obviously if you finish third, you have the extra games to play next season. And Man United lose as well, and so it stays as you were in the table. All we've done is lose 3 goals on the goal difference. It's a game that is bonkers, exceptional given the circumstance, and I've written a bit about this. It doesn't matter because the season's already gone, and barring something even more incredible and ridiculous in this result, Arsenal are going to be in Europe next season. It would take something monumental for us to lose. But I think you've got to lose all our games, and Man City have got to win all their games for it to unravel and us come in 4th place. And then we've got to rely on winning the Champions League to get into Europe. So it's not a detriment to this season, but. And it's also it's exceptional circumstances because it is straight after the Lyon game. If we hadn't played Lyon, I mean, if that game didn't exist, that game would have played at the weekend. Rennie would have got full strength, and I've had full confidence we'd have gone to Villa and we would have won, probably comfortably, as we have done. We should say we've won, I think, the last 6 or 7 games in the league in a row, and they've all been by 3 or 4 goals, and it's been breezed it. I think the circumstances of the Lyon game and the need, the lack of sort of time to reset and prepare, and they said, and I think Leah said post-match, we did prepare and we were worried about this game because we knew what could happen and we did prepare, but I think ultimately what's happened. It's a post-European classic away performance, team fatigue, energy low, exactly. So but then I say that, but then you look at the players, and the players that would have been affected by that was only about 4 of them. I mean, Katie McCabe was the shining example of this, but most of the players didn't play in that game. And for me, the reason the game fell apart is that it was just most of those teams, the players that came in, the squad players, who for them this was a massive opportunity. This was a massive opportunity then, because they've been on the bench, they've been struggling for game time. We should say, I think Rose Kafaji and Jill Niswanger weren't even in the squad at all. They were back home. They could, because we've got 2 players. You can only so many players you can fit in the team for match day. This was a huge opportunity for them. I appreciate the difficult circumstances, but this was a huge opportunity for them. And a lot of them just, for whatever reason, the performances didn't happen. Too many of them did not step up to the extent that Rennie had to break glass and deploy 3 substitutes at half time to try and save the game. And we are coming to the end of the season. Some of those, and we've got a Champions League final coming up. And if any of them were looking for as an audition, I don't think many of them passed it for potential. I don't think many of them would have made it into the starting 11 anyway.
Yeah, but to get on that bench in that final is everything. Means everything for them.
And 2 didn't turn up. I felt very sorry for Manuela Zinsberger because she had 6 shots on target. I mean, Villa were incredibly ruthless with their efforts. I said,
just go quickly on the stats, Adam, before you carry on. Villa had 15 shots. 6 of those were on target. They had 35% of the possession, 286 passes, whereas Arsenal had 16 shots. 6 of them on target, 65% of the possession, 530 passes, and 85% of the passing accuracy. It all stems back to this Arsenal possession, but you're not doing anything with those passes.
Yeah, but it's more than that. So yeah, we have more possession, just one more shot than them, same shots on target, more touches inside the box, but we were so slow. It was so like too many players were putting their foot on the ball and stopping. Beth Mead on the way. The times of running, like the moment Beth was on the wing, racing down and would stop. And they no, don't do that. The defense will reset. Whereas Villa were rapid. They were rapid. There was movement. There was intensity. They were on it, and they were harrying Arsenal. And Arsenal were not doing the same to Aston Villa. So while the stats look decent, that's not how the game played out. You watched that game, and you could tell, yeah, Villa are going to win this game. As I said, banana skin, 20 minutes. I thought, if nothing changes, Villa win this game. I didn't think they'd win it by this much, but they did win the game. And as I said, the players that came in, and I think that the biggest thing is the strangest thing. I think because a lot of these players haven't played, they haven't built up the connection. I know they have training sessions and all that stuff, but on the pitch, starting 11, that was a starting 11 I don't think has ever played in that setup ever before, and it showed. It was just the defense, but also the midfield didn't exist. The forward, there was no chemistry. There was just 11 players that were just chucked on that pitch, and some of them were knackered from Lyon. Some of them weren't up to the level, and weren't
due to injuries and things.
Well, some of them are returned from injuries, and some of them because they haven't been picked much because Rennes has gone down a particular route and stuck with a key few players to get the season over the line. Some of them the performance wasn't right. Some of them weren't informed. Some of them stuck them up from injuries, and some of them were knackered from Lyon. And it was just a toxic combination of players who they just weren't in the right frame of mind. And on an 0-8, maybe we fluke it, but we didn't. Villa were ruthless and rightly punished us. And this goes then back to Rennes, and this is one of my bigger points is looking to next season is this season we can afford to chuck this game effectively, because that's what we've done. We've chucked the game.
Yeah,
we can afford to because the league's gone, and all our chips are the 2 goals are secure Europe. Nearly there. We can afford to chuck this game. We've got Brighton on the Monday, which we might get to. We've got time, and then Man United, and obviously the Champions League final. But next season, if we're changing for the league, which we should be, and I think with Rennes and in charge now, and if you can get a really good window, you can't afford to chuck games. We can now because the season's gone. But if we're in the same time next season, we get to a Champions League semi-final, and then we are away to, I don't know, say Leicester City or maybe even Villa. Or whoever it is that comes up from the Championship. And we're away, and we've had a really intense Champions League semi-final, and we are, say, 1 or 2 points within Chelsea. We could win the league. You cannot chuck the game. You need to be able to go from the weekend to the midweek and still sustain the level. And the squad at the moment, in this instance, didn't do that. And that is inexcusable. And that comes to the players, and I would also go on to the manager. Rennes, she's picked. Rene's been amazing this season. She's got to the Champions League final. I am not going to, for 1 second, I don't want to slate her. But I think also this is a build-up from not getting the whole squad involved and interconnected. And this is something that Jonas really struggled with, which was managing the squad. And football's not a charity. You don't just give out minutes to everybody. But at the same time, you need to make sure that everybody can play at the right level when they come in. You can hot swap. You can bring a player in, the level is sustained. And I look across London, Chelsea can rotate 6 or 7 players out of that team, bring 6 or 7 players off the bench into the team, and they can sustain their level and they can win a match. There was a game, I think they had at home to Leicester City, midweek game a few weeks ago. I was watching it, and they made a lot of changes. They weren't overfluent, but they won. They won, I think, 3-0 in the end. It was either 3-1 or 3-0. I forget, but it's probably 3-0. In fact, no, I think it was actually 6. Yeah, I think it might have been 3-1. But Eric Cupper got a goal late on, and it's still the win for Chelsea. They can do that. We can't. We're still trapped within the main 11 being good enough, and we need to find a way of ensuring that if we have this situation again, we go away to Villa or go away to Leicester or go away to Everton, and we need to rotate 6 or 7 players. The players can come in and they can sustain the level, and that I think was the biggest lesson. Because Renee's still young as a manager. She's only just coming to Arsenal. She hasn't played a full season. She's still learning this squad, and I think she will learn, and I think she'll take this into next season. Some people have tried to dismiss this result out of hand and say, well, it is what it is. We had Leon, and it's exceptional circumstances, and this rarely happens, and it won't happen again. I think, yes, you could say it's an outlier.
It's happened throughout this season. It's been a common theme.
Well,
not in terms of this sort of result, but the performance itself, where let's take the West Ham game, because essentially the West Ham game at home, they were 3-0 down.
Yeah. And we're 3-1 down, and then we got it back. And
either way, you're losing a game, and okay, you bring it back and win 4-3. But the consistency has to be consistent. You can't be inconsistently consistent and pick your moments to
we've played the best team. We've beaten Liverpool at home 4-0. We've beaten Spurs at home 5-0. We went to Everton and won 3-1, and that was all fine. But it's when, we've had to tinker with the team for whatever reason. There has been a notable gulf in quality. I think also some of those games also start of the year when we didn't have enough wingers and Russo was on the wing and all that stuff. And then we exited the League Cup quite limply at home to Manchester City, and it was quite disappointing. Now, this result is exceptional. It's exceptional circumstances. We've just gotten through to a Champions League final. I can imagine everybody was buzzing after that game, and you do get a rebound, and this was a rebound. But I think it's highlighted crucially with a summer window coming up, the level of the players that need to level up, players that I think need more game time in order to level up. I mean, should say Katie Reid played the 90 minutes. I think that is a massive 90 minutes for Katie Reid. I think there was a tweet, so I think it was from Josh Bunting, basically said that's for a young player coming into the team, you need that horror game, because you will learn so much. You will learn so much in that game, and that will make you a better player. Because to be fair to Katie Reid, she had a very sort of cozy start to life. Coming into the first team Arsenal, she had to most of the games be quite soft, be quite easy. She's been able to play her game, and whether there be a mistake or not mistake, it has an impact to the team. This is not a game for pulling up players up individually, because the whole team I don't think really shone. But I think Katie Reid will learn a lot for this. Manu Zinsberger, I mentioned the shots on target. The first 5 shots on target, and Villa scored all 5. And it's and a lot of people were throwing Manu on the bus for that. I think that's quite harsh. Could she have saved 1 or 2? Maybe. Daphne has raised the level of goalkeeping so high this season. Like every game, she'll make a fingertip save just to keep us in the game when the game was a bit transitional, a bit closer, 1-0 or 0-0. And she is a level above Manu, and to expect Manu to be a Daphne is not fair, because Manu is her level. Brilliant goalkeeper for us. She has been a brilliant goalkeeper for us. Many years she's been for us, and I think some of the way people judge her and are quite harsh on her, but she is not of Daphne's level. Daphne has elevated that position, and I think we saw that in the Villa game. It wouldn't have impacted the result. We would have still lost. But I think some people are saying, if Daphne was in goal, maybe it would have been maybe a 4-2 or 3-2. And to be honest, I could probably get behind that. Because it's not just the saves, just the way that the panic at times at the back, which Manu was part of. I think Daphne's a much calmer goalkeeper. And that would have maybe spread itself into the defence.
Just on this as well, because she was devastated. There was fan footage as well that she is physically devastated after the game. Manu. She's going over to give her gloves over to a fan as well at the end of it, and you can see that she wants the ground to swallow her up.
Manu is very, very passionate keeper, and she loves the club. And she loves the fans, and we see her celebrating fans. I remember the League Cup when we was at Selhurst. We were sat behind the goal when we were going 2-1 up, 3-1 up. She was celebrating with us, and she's a wonderful character. She's a wonderful keeper, wonderful person. She loves the club and loves the fans. Whereas Daphne is cold-hearted, ruthless. And the best comparison I can make is that we've gone from an Aaron Ramsdale, maybe without so much the fans love Aaron Ramsdale, the fans maybe not so much love Manu, which I think is unfair, but Ramsdale was a very passionate goalkeeper, loved interacting with the fans, and David Raya is very cold and ruthless, and that is what's happened. And I think also we've seen with Manu, the fact that she hasn't played as much because DVD's been so good, is I think also features in the fact that her match day game has been a bit rusty. We saw that. I was away at Real Madrid, and we saw the same. And then at home game against Lyon as well, a few of those moments. So it was, yeah, as I said, a toxic cocktail of a lot of factors of players not being sharp enough, players maybe not being match fit, no relations, no synergy, a Champions League semi-final, only a few days earlier. I think the big thing about this game is that Rennie would have learned a lot about her squad, would have learned a lot about levels, and maybe learned a lot about herself, about picking the squad and managing the squad and using the squad across the season, managing it so that you don't have players coming in freezing cold. And I think that is a good education to have going to next season. And if I were Rennie, I would stick this result on a piece of paper, stick it on the notice board in the changing room, and say, you do not do this again. A bit like the Arteta 2-0 at Newcastle, that sort of result. And to finish, when Joe Montemurro came to Arsenal mid-season, they had a brilliant run of form to start with. They only lost like one game as away at Chelsea, but everything else had been winning, one or two draws, but like really strong run of form, really big wins, brilliant football. And then right at the end of the season, they went away to Birmingham City and they lost 3-0. And it was a result that meant they missed out on Europe. And for me, this kind of felt like that sort of result. It was just the conclude. We've had a brilliant run of form and we've just run out of gas right at the end. We would have needed to have won every single game. And maybe Chelsea might make a mistake, but this just felt like a team that had just hit that brick wall right at the end. But now we've got time to rest. We've got Brighton on the Monday. And if we can refine that form and get that win, we'll be fine.
Well, just quickly go over Brighton for the last couple of minutes, because there won't be a Michelle Aggerman, who is up for Player of the Month. I believe.
Yes, she did.
So congratulations.
A bit too late.
Yeah, but the other thing is potentially could be in an England squad with the Nations League coming up in June, shall I say, with England facing Spain and Portugal, and the England team are pushing those tickets at Wembley for the game against Portugal, shall we say. But Brighton overall this season, I'm just going to double check this, but Brighton this season, they've been a team that have surprised a lot of people, especially with speaking of England as well, Nikita Paris being in the very much in and around the England team, shall we say. Brighton so far 5th in the table, 25 points, same as Liverpool, but they're above them. It is odd to see that you see teams with a minus goal difference, but they're in the top half of the table with -6. But so no Michelle Aggerman for Brighton. But because we're recording this on the Thursday, we won't know until further down the line, the team news and things like that. But that will be updated further down the line. Is there any worries for you?
I think, for our team or teams players.
Let's do Arsenal and Brighton. So just Brighton first, and then we'll do Arsenal.
So, the worrying players are, there's a few we know, the likes of ex-gunner, Vic Akers, the captain of midfield, Frank Kirby, who always used to love a goal against us when she played for Chelsea, and Paris as well. There's quality experience in there that we should be afraid of. And a 5th place finish for Brighton this season would be incredible. I think it's Darius Vidicic, I think, is the manager, and he's done a superb job. They had a really good start, fell off a bit over Christmas, but I think they've sort of got themselves back on track now, and finishing the season pretty strongly. But I think if Arsenal, we've had the Villa result we've talked over, and I don't really want to go back over it. But you'd think, given we'll have a few more days to rest and recharge those batteries, and I would be willing to bet Renée will revert to her full-strength team for the Brighton game. She'll start Little, she'll start Caldente in the pivot, she'll start Russo at top, she'll start Frida in the 10, she'll start Kelly and Ford. Whether the debate will be on DVD, how fit is she? I think Renée said that she'd picked up like a slight discomfort at the end of the Lyon game, and it was best not to risk her. And I wouldn't be surprised if they put her in cold storage until the Champions League final and they gave Manu the rest of the season. But we'll see how that plays out. But I think if Renée will go back to her full strength team, I don't think she's going to play the team that played Aston Villa. I think that's done. goes full strength, I think Arsenal should be able to comfortably win, as they had done when they went away to Everton and went away to Crystal Palace. I think there was some quality in there. And historically, after spoken to a friend of mine who's a Brighton fan, historically Arsenal do usually do quite well away at Brighton. We should say we won their away in the League Cup, quite comfortable 4-0. However, this then gives me cup finals revenge, cup tie revenge, which is you do well against a team in the cup tie, and then you come to the league game and you get stuffed, or vice versa. You don't win both. But I would be hopeful that Arsenal can get that win, and if we do get that win, especially with the Manchester derby coming up on the horizon, you would imagine if we beat Brighton, Arsenal they are there. Just nudge out of Manchester United, and if Man City can do us a favour and beat Man United at Old Trafford, and we beat Brighton, then second place is done, and the game at Emirates Stadium against Manchester United is a dead rubber, and we can all sort of relax a bit into what's come against Barcelona.
You say that there's not very much. There's not many points between Man City and Manchester United. It will go down to about 2 points if City do win the Manchester derby at the weekend, which means
it's a 4-point gap. So if City win, they go 1 point behind Manchester United. So you could end up in the very funny situation,
which means Arsenal need to beat.
No, not just that, but if Arsenal beat Brighton and Manchester City beat Manchester United, you could be in the funny situation where Man City win the last game, Arsenal beat Manchester United, and suddenly Man United are in fourth place. And to be honest, that would be unfair and bonkers, because Manchester United have been quite good this season and warrant being in the position they are in now. But that remains to be seen. As we've said, 2 more league games to go. Can't believe the season's almost over. It's flown by so quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, just if
we've got the Euros to look forward to as well.
We've got Champions League final, we've got the Euros and some Nations League games, so plenty to look forward to. But I think the priority now for Arsenal is, now that we've got the Champions League final space booked, is just get this season over the line. If we had won against Villa, then we would have been well clear of Man United. Obviously, to be fair, I watched Man United in the Chelsea game. They were really good. Like the intensity they played against Chelsea, easily could have won that game. But Chelsea do what they always do, and they win. And obviously they are the ones lifting WSL, and rightly so. They've been the best team this season. They deserve it. Congratulations to them. But Arsenal now, just go to Brighton, beat Brighton. We've got 40,000 tickets sold already for our Emirates Stadium match against Manchester United. So let's go out on a high, get a good crowd in there, sign the season off, and then we move on to Lisbon.
I think you said it best. So that is all from us. You can follow us on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram. You can follow the pod at VAW Pod. Don't forget, if you are on the YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all the good things. And where can the lovely people find you, Adam, if they're not looking down at the banner?
I was going to say, we've got
on YouTube.
In our new setup, we now have a ribbon that gives all the ats and so forth. So if we forget, they're all there, which is quite handy. You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky and Instagram on Adam_Salter4. I really regret changing that now, but unfortunately, it's been split for years now, and I can't change it. And you can find the Arsenal Women Archive on Twitter, Blue Sky, and YouTube as well. And as I've said in the previous pod, it's May, so plenty of cup finals, and Arsenal. If you know your Arsenal, will know, historically speaking, they've been a lot of cup finals. So there's quite a few exciting clips on the horizon.
You can follow Lottie as well. Unfortunately, Lottie had to step away from the pod tonight for this one, but you can follow her at Lottie_AWFC. You can also follow me at MattLR28. That is all from us tonight. And until next time, come on, you Gunners.